Department of EC, conducting a webinar on trends and innovations in industrial IoT by our resource person, Mr. Harishankar. I also welcome all the institution's Innovation Council members for attending this webinar. Mr. Harishankar is working as a senior software engineer in Robert Bosch Engineering and Business Solutions Private Limited. He has over 4.5 years of experience in developing robust industrial IoT solutions for various market needs. He holds a BE in Electronics and Communication Engineering and is an alumni of SRM Valiamma Engineering College. He has worked on various Azure IoT cloud services like Azure IoT Hub, device provisioning, stream analytics job using MS Azure services, and IoT gateway development. He has also worked on vehicle variant management and vehicle mode switching for sports cars. Apart from his regular work, he has presented seminar on industrial IoT sensorization, calibration, ADC, and industrial IoT implementation. I would like to thank Mr. Hari Shankar for accepting our request in spite of his busy schedule. I believe this webinar will be a thought-provoking session to all the participants. Now I request Mr. Hari Shankar to start the session. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sudhir sir. Welcome all to the session, and once again, thanks for creating such an opportunity by the HOD ma'am, principal sir, and vice principal sir, and of course all the staff members for organizing such an event to connect with all the alumni and the previous passed out students. So let me introduce myself. I was a 2016 passed out student from EC department. So I was placed on campus in L&T Infotech, and I was working to L&T Construction for the past 2.5 years, and currently I'm working in Robert Bosch, as Sudhir sir briefed about myself. So shall we go enter into the session?
Yes, please.
Yeah, let me present my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, Harishankar.
I was working in this industrial. Yeah, I was working in this industrial IoT for 2 years, and with expertise in IoT, I was working continuously in vehicle networks management as my current profile. So before going to IoT and vehicle networks, first let me explain what is industry and industrial revolution. So currently we are in industrial 4.0 revolution, and as we all know, industry 1 contains or the main objective of industry 1 is the steam power and the manual work, and in industry 2 it was the electrical power and the mass large scale production using assembly lines, and in industrial 3.0 it was PLC SCADA systems, where most of the works are automated by machines, but still some manual inputs are there. But currently we are in industry 4.0, in which the artificial intelligence, IoT, and data science plays a major role. So for all these streams, the main objective is to collect data and to process the data. To process such data, first, the first sector or the first section would be collecting the data from assets or whatever industry we are working. If we speak about some manufacturing industry or some kind of industries, the data will be collected either using some sensor devices or some modules which they develop by their own, or they will pursue from the market. So most of the development or manufacturing sectors develop their own products for collecting such data. There are some estimates some manufacturers like Intel, some Maratha Electronics, they used to deliver service to provide some assembled devices in which each manufacturers needs some port or some communication devices to be interfaced with their main microcontrollers. So it is a customized one, and each global leaders or market sorry. As per the market demand, each manufacturers will develop their own customized devices as per their requirements. So let me go into the data communication part. So the primary criteria for IoT components. First, before going to IoT components, let me explain about IoT and industrial IoT. If we speak about IoT, the IoT means Internet of Things, where some small devices which will control one or two interfaces. Like we could see some such some appliances which has been currently reached to the market by Philips and the Schneider Electronics. So some automation devices like home automation devices in which smart home facilities has been achieved. So coming to industrial IoT, it is mostly used in most of the manufacturing industries, where they used to collect only the data perspective. They won't control any of the devices. Only they will collect some data through which they will derive some insights. Here I meant insights means some productivity information, some health status of the assets, or some industrial equipments, by which they can debug or diagnose the devices in advance. So we used to call it as a predictive diagnosis. So for this kind of predictive diagnosis, they need data, historical data. So the data should be collected, terabytes of data. Almost they should have 2 to 3 years of historical data to analyze a basic insight about some assets. So coming to any kind of IoT implementation, the basic integration will be, the first objective will be device integration and cloud integration. There are two phases. In device integration is the first or the primary most end, from which we collect some information from any of the machinery equipments, and using some microcontroller devices or processors, and we will send such data in some processed manner to some cloud servers. So I'll come to the cloud integration part second. So first, if we look into device integration part, we have data acquisition and data storage and retrieval, and the data push and receive. So as I explained, data acquisition, the data acquisition can be done by several interfaces. Some machinery or some equipments might have serial communications, some might have parallel communication ports. So for example, I would say the basic example, in our laptops or PCs, we would have a USB device, which is a serial universal serial interface. So it is one of the hardware which can transmit data in some format, in digital format. Another PC which is connected using some USB device can receive the same data if the receiver PC is also provided with some USB interface. So in most industrial equipments, the serial communication will not be using USB. It is some other serial communication. Either it is UART, the basic serial communication port, or it will be using RS-485 module. Using RS-485, there is a protocol called Modbus, which was been standardized in all manufacturing industries since Industry 3.0. So until now, most of the manufacturing sectors are using the Modbus protocol. So second phase will be the data storage and retrieval. So whatever data we are collecting, already the PLC system, we might have heard of PLC system. PLC system is a system which reads all the sensors or all the digital sensors or ports, serial ports, and it will display the values, the live values, current values, and it will expire. That's it. So our objective is to collect the data and store somewhere. In order to collect the data, we need to store the data initially in our device in which we are going to read the information. Third part will be opening the socket connection or TCP/IP or some advanced protocols and sending the data, whichever we stored in the device, and pushing the data to the cloud server or local instance, whatever may be the use case. Coming to cloud integration, if we send the data from one device, we should realize that it should be subscribed, or to achieve the insights, we want to receive the data to some server, some PC kind of server. Some small scale industries used to have a local server in which they build their own server configuration and they used to collect the data. But in most larger scale production industries, they used to opt for cloud services like AWS, Microsoft Azure, or Google Cloud Platform, or their own cloud platform. So IoT Hub is a gateway or the entry point from which all the data is sent by each devices. So if we consider a large scale industry, there may be millions of devices. So in our case, we consider it as 100 devices. So each devices will have different unique IDs. So all those IDs will be registered in this IoT Hub, and all the devices are hard-coded with some server IP address to which it can transmit data. So to that particular server, it will continuously transmit the data. And in IoT Hub, it will enter the data, but we need to receive the data to some local storages. So for that, there is a concept called stream analytics is available. So stream analytics, as the name suggests, it will stream or it will receive and segregate the data. In stream analytics, we can apply some queries and we can filter what type of data should store in which bucket. And the input will be from IoT Hub and the output will be go to storage. Storage is basic database in our case. So in all our PCs, we have a basic database. So Excel is one basic type of database stored in our PC. So the storage can be of several methods, like it can be stored as a TXT file or some CSV format or some other JSON format, in whatever format the industry opts for their convenient. And dashboard is the end part. So this is more attractive part of the entire work. We can establish a good or showcase our work better way in using some dashboards. So dashboard is the end result of all our analysis and process. So if dashboard, how better your dashboard is, that much better your customer or your end users will be happy. So dashboard will showcase all the data, whichever backend data, whichever received on the server. So simple example of a dashboard is if you want to do application in your mobile, or say example my Airtel app or any app, you can see a basic home page in which if you log in through your user ID, you can see your informations like how much data balance do you have, how much is your data and package balance do you have, and what are all the benefits you have opted for. This kind of information you can see. So all the data are pushed from backend servers, but the front end will be common for all the users. The backend data are pushed as per the user's login. So that will be handled inside the application layers. So this is a basic introduction. Here I have given example of a simple dashboard. So in IoT applications, the dashboards mostly will be like productivity data of any huge machineries. Like example, since I worked in a construction industry, so there will be several construction equipments like drilling machines, bore machines, or concrete batching plants, something like this. So there will be one dashboard which will show some n number of equipments under the same category. So let me go to the next part. So here we go into the data acquisition, again coming back to the initial phase. So to realize how to feel the front-end data, we need to collect the data. To collect the data, we can see the industry having this many or several type of assets. Here we have shown a few type of assets in manufacturing sector or in the construction purpose assets, something like this. In most of the equipments, the sensor data will be collected through only through these three modes, like wired sensor mode, or serial communication, or wireless sensors mode. Currently, due to some poor error check mechanism or data loss, the wireless sensor are not pretty much good for collecting these data. Only in small IoT projects or small implementations they used to go for wireless communication. For large scale industrial automation, majorly the data will be through wired or serial communication. Why? Because most of the manufacturing industries already they have implemented their PLC or SCADA system using either of this wired sensors or serial communications, and mostly with the serial communications. When we go to some customized vehicles, the vehicle might contain some customized sensors or customized actuators. So for this purpose, we go for the wired sensor data collection method. Yeah. In wired sensor, we used to have analog and digital sensors. Analog sensor operates with current or voltage, whereas digital gives active pulses or passive pulses. Most industrial used sensors will be analog current sensor, which will operate in the range of 4 to 20 milliamps. And they won't go for digital sensors, since if they opt for digital sensor, it is a better option to go to serial communication, because already serial communication transmits data in digital format. So as I told previously, in serial communication, we have these many hardware layer support like RS485, RS232, and RS422, CAN and Ethernet connections. So CAN and Ethernet connections are used for data other than industrial equipments. Like if you want to collect any data from servers or some PCs or some routers, Ethernets are the major mode of communication. Whereas since 1994, CAN was the only communication or better communication used in all the automobiles. Whereas in industrial applications, industrial equipments, they go for RS485 or RS232. Considering RS232 and RS485, RS232 is a simple serial communication which have only TX and RX pins in both the sides. Say example, if the manufacturing equipment have TX and RX port, and the device which we are using to collect the data will also should also have a RS4 232 port, and it have only TX and RX pin, only 2 pins. So direct to direct connection, pin to pin connections. TX of your manufacturing device should be connected to RX of our device or the data collecting device, and similarly the other pins should be connected. If you go for RS485, it is little different. It is not a direct pin to pin configuration. It is a differential voltage circuit where they have 2 pins. Here the 2 pins are called as high and low lines, and it is not called as a TX or RX pins. RS4 positive or negative they used to call are high and low pins. Here the operating operating voltage will be in the range of 0 to 12 or 0 to 5 volt. If voltage difference of 3.5 or above is detected, it is considered as a logical one. Whereas voltage differential of less than 1.5 is detected, it is considered as logical 0, which means the oscilloscope or any receiving device will detect in such a way that based on this differential voltage. The same in the same manner the CAN will also operate, but the difference between RS485 and CAN is RS485 is a master slave protocol. Like there will be only one master, and there will be some n number of slaves. So only master commands the entire communication, and it will request for data from slaves, and request will be only sending data, or it will be a silent participant in the communication. But CAN is considered as a multi-master, multi-slave protocol. So this is about data acquisition. So I have shown here a Raspberry Pi 3B model. So it supports I2C, SPI, and UART interfaces. So if you want to connect CAN or any of the drivers, any of the ICs with this Raspberry Pi, first we need to write a driver. Since Python works on Python is an open source environment, and this Raspberry Pi supports Python. We should take care of the library files and everything. So all will be already available in some GitHubs and everywhere. But in most industries, they opt for some Renesas controller, STM controllers, which are operating in some more than 1.25 gigahertz. So your Raspberry Pi operates with minimum or 600 to 800 gigahertz frequency. So when I say about frequency of the controller or the operation range, based on the frequency, it will decide the performance of the controller. So there will be some calculations. If our frequency is 1.25 gigahertz, then it can do some operations or some instructions around the 10 million instruction in 1 second, if you imagine. So instruction, I mean, A plus B is equal to C is one instruction. So similarly, it can operate 10 million instructions within 1 second. So mostly, most of the application codes will not exceed more than 10 million lines or instructions. So which means the entire application code will run within 1 second. Less than 1 second, actually. It will run at least twice in 1 second. So this is how most controllers work, industrial standard controllers work. So this Raspberry Pi can be used for development or study purpose. Yeah, I have explained about this. So here, I would like to explain this data storage and retrieval process. So once we read some information from the server or any of the manufacturing devices, we should store those data in the internal memory of internal or external memory of the device which we are using to collect the data. So the collecting or the storing mechanism, mostly it will be EEPROM method or file-based method. Database method is one option available, but in industrial standards they won't go for database method. Mostly will be in EEPROM. So most of the manufacturers will opt for device which have at least some as per their capacity they used to select for as per their requirement they used to select for their EEPROM memory size. Based on the EEPROM memory size, they used to go for their customized controllers from the providers. And the third one, data transmit and receive, for which in basic we should have a GSM module, which could work in this data transmission or some Wi-Fi connection. So inbuilt Wi-Fi module should be there. If inbuilt Wi-Fi is not available, then we can integrate with our device using some serial communications. So here, the main information I would like to share is Indianness. So little Indian or big Indian. If you have a equipment or machinery equipment which will transmit data using some serial communication, the service provider or the manufacturer will share the data sheet for that equipment. In the data sheet, you could see what are all the informations available in what address. Or here the information will be published or sent in a message format or frame format. So each frame will be addressed using some address, some unique identifiers. So the manufacturers will mention that address in the data sheet, and if each frame consists of 4 bytes of memory, PDU, what data will be stored in first byte and what data will be stored in second byte will be mentioned in the data sheets clearly. But this data sheet will not be provided by all the manufacturers, and due to some legal constraints. So if you imagine a construction vehicle cost of 50 lakh, and the manufacturer will not share the data, they will lend another 30 lakhs to share that single paper of data sheet, because current market need for data is more compared to the assets. If they receive that data sheet, that will be common for all the assets which has been developed by or the manufacturer delivers, it will be a common standard. So it won't vary vehicle to vehicle. If we buy a Mahindra tractor, so if we purchase this data sheet from them, it will be the common standard which will be followed in all the vehicles. So, little Indians and big Indians means if we receive a 2-byte data, in which order we should interpret the data from our side. Means you can look for Intel format or Motorola format. If high byte should be read first or low byte should be read first. This is major information in controllers communication. So some providers, some controllers will send in Little Indian format. Some controllers will send in Big Indian format. Even though controller will send in Little Indian format, the application layer of each customers will change according to their requirement. They will the controller will send in Little Indian format, but out of the device, the customer wants to be sent as a Big Indian format. So this will be controlled in the higher layers, application layers. So this is a basic example of the foremost older serial communication technique, where sender and receiver will process the data parallelly until the TX or RX pin. But out of the controller, it will transmit in serial mode, which means 1 bit transmits at 1 second. So this is a basic example of serial communication, which is asynchronous. Asynchronous in the sense here there is no synchronization between sender and transmitter. It will transmit with some start bit and end bit. Based on the start bit and the end bit, the receiver will detects, or it will take care of from where I should start reading the data. So ideally, the communication channel will be in recessive, or it will be 0. Whenever it detects 1 or whatever the start bits mentioned in the data sheet, so from there it will start reading the data, so whatever it comes. So here you can see a synchronous format of data. For synchronous type of communication, there will be a clock generated by the oscillator. Yeah. So each bits will be identified, or each bits will be interpreted based on 1 clock cycle. Like for 1 clock, only 1 bit will be transmitted. If more than 1 bit, then it will be ignored. So mostly synchronous type of communication is the basic communication method, but it is not mostly used in industrial standards. But asynchronous is faster than synchronous, and it is most opted in industrial communication devices. So, yeah, this is a basic UART configuration. So here in the right side image, we can see 2 devices which have the UART interfaced in it. The connection would be like similarly mentioned below. Like the left hand device TX pin will be connected to the RX pin of right hand side. So which means whatever device one sends or the sender sends will be received on the right hand side. Similarly, acknowledgement kind of thing, if any implemented in application layer, will be transmitted by the receiver and will be received on sender side. Yeah. And we have a CTS and RTS, that is to reset, and yeah, that have some specific use cases, and mostly it will be unused. This SPI is the current serial communication used in most of the controllers. Why? Because the wiring or the if you go opt for UART method, the number of lines or the number of connections would be more huge, which is complex and very difficult to interpret compared to SPI. SPI have less number of lines compared to UART, and it is a again it is a synchronous protocol which operates with some clock synchronization between sender and receiver. So here majorly we should look into this SS bit. There will be one master and there will be multiple slaves. In our case, the microcontroller IC will be the main master, and there will be several interfaces like camera interface. So you can consider your mobile as one of the one such device, which you have a SoC, system on chip, as the master controller, and camera interface, fingerprint sensors, button interfaces, speakers, mics, antennas, several interfaces are available, GSM module. So all these interfaces are connected to the main master controller using this SPI communication. So here, if you see for SS means used to say as chip select or slave select. So it will directly connect to each slaves, and based on some address values or slave IDs, it will directly communicate with addressing that the data is coming from this slave number 1 or slave number 2 or slave number 3, based on some address values, slave values. So whatever we have seen until now is a communication within the circuit level. Within the circuit level, in the sense, any interface between your controller and some interfaces like camera interface or something. Next will be Modbus. In Modbus, mainly used for industrial applications. So the controller used for Modbus protocol is RS485 differential circuit. The main objective of Modbus protocol is to send and receive data from any of the manufacturing equipments. Similarly, like our USB device in PC. So it is a single master and multiple slave architecture, and it will communicate with addressing types, and it have some handshaking methods, like master will send the device address from which it wants data. Say example, above we can see slave 1, 2, and 3. Slave 1 will have a ID value 100. Slave 2 will have a ID value 200, and 3 will have a ID value 300. So in master will require some data from slave 1. So in the first byte, it will mention device address value as 100 and function code some values. The function code defines what operation it should happen, like read operation or write operation or read-write operation, something like this. And it requires data from some registers or memories, something like this, will be mentioned using the function codes. And request data here, it is user specific, and error check mechanism is something like TRC or checksum used to say. So this will take care of errorless transmission of data. So that's all about Modbus protocol. This is how the packet structure looks like, or the frame structure looks like for Modbus communication. The request will have device address value something, and function code, and address of first register, and something like this. In case master is requesting for inappropriate or wrong slave. Okay, consider we have only slave address 100 to 1000, and if master unknowingly if it sends a request for 1100 address value, then there is no such slave interface. So there will be some another interface which will send, or another controller which will controls or monitors if there is some exceptions, some out of ranges, it will throw on negative responses. So it will say that there is no such ID range or slave available in the network. So it will be monitored continuously with some other controllers. So until now, whatever we have seen is used in most industrial communication modes. Coming to CAN, I have only one slide for CAN, but there is this CAN is the most dominant protocol available in current market. It is standardized in all the automotives now. All the industries are switching to controller area communication. So CAN is called as controller area network. It was first developed or patented by Robert Bosch since 1983, and later it was implemented, and first series production with this network method was delivered in Mercedes-Benz cars, which was delivered in 1994. Before CAN or without CAN network, previously the communication will be similarly like the left hand diagram. Like each nodes are pin-to-pin kind of connection. There will be bundle of wires will be moving or going from one node to another node. Here we can see only 2 to 3 lines, but in real scenarios it will be bunch of wires. It will be very complex to diagnose or retrieve where the issues are. If any wire goes some communication issues, or it will be very difficult to diagnose in such communication type. Later, once CAN was introduced, it was a bus type of communication where there will be a common bus. In the common bus, all the nodes will be connected, and it will be communicated with address types. And here, all the nodes act as a masters. Anyone can transmit at any point of time. Nobody can request, or nobody can need to wait for some priority basis. All have their own priorities, and all can transmit at any point they would like. So until now, whatever we have seen, it is a data collection technique within a network. Within a network means if you are sitting in a laboratory, computer laboratory, then all the PCs are interconnected. Obviously, only one PC will have an internet connection to the outside network. If imagine that is also not available, then only you could able to communicate within all the PCs internally. So coming to IoT, you need to take data to the external network, to the external server, which will be located in somewhere in other part of the world, or somewhere away from the vehicle networks or industrial networks, whatever it might be. So to take such data, we want some internet connections, at least to one of the device. So that device is called as gateway device or router device or whatever it may be. Basic protocol will be TCP or UDP for communicating such data. UDP will be for publishing type of messages, like broadcasting kind of messages. They opt for UDP method, but TCP is a reliable one for packet transmission. Like always, there will be acknowledgement received to the sender that data is received to the expected destination properly. So coming to data, Like industrial use case, mostly they opt for TCP, and especially for IoT applications, they go for MQTT protocol. MQTT protocol is one cloud protocol which works on top of TCP/IP. So MQTT is basically application layer protocol. Before working on MQTT, first we should implement our TCP, or our device should have an internet connection, and the TCP stack should be available. Coming to MQTT, okay, TCP/IP is a request and response type of something like this protocol. But MQTT is a publish and subscribe protocol. There is no request or response. There will be a common server kind of thing. So here it used to be referred as a broker. Broker will be a central device or router kind of device. All the subscribers are the publishers, are the clients which used to do some operations, or either it will publish the data or it will subscribe the data. So in industrial equipments, whatever device we are connecting, first it should send the data to the server. So here the publish technique will be followed. There will be a set of frame formats or packets for publishing the data. Before publishing the data, we should open the network connection, and we should authenticate whether the right user is authenticating it or not. Like it will be handled inside our session layer and the presentation layer. In session layer, mostly the timeout mechanisms have been implemented. Like say example, if you log into a bank server or bank application, internet banking, you cannot wait idle for more than a few minutes or few seconds. So these kind of logics will be handled in the session layer, and you are logging using some special authentication like username and password. It is user specific, and it will be generated by yourself. These will be handled. These kind of algorithms are handled in the presentation layer of OSI layer. So in the application layer, the actual data of what the data the manufacturing vehicles or manufacturing equipments need to transmit, it will be available in the application payload data, and it will be stored in some format, JSON or Excel format in the database. So all these data will be okay. There will be n number of devices. Say example, 100 devices communicating a different set of data. How the broker or the receiver will identify what data is this and which I should take to my device. So it will be handled using the topic. Topic means the sender sends. There may be 10 topics derived from the customer side or the end user side. Out of the 100 devices, 10 devices will send some data with one topic. The next 10 data will send some data with second topic. Topic names will be different. It will be either a number or some text, some kind of text. So with the same, the receiver end also should subscribe the data with the same topics. Then only they will get the relevant data. Else they will not find the actual data. They will get only the junk of data, and they could not interpret what is exactly available inside information. And mostly this MQTT happens with handshaking mechanism, as we already you would have learned handshaking mechanism in TCP/IP in computer networks, I hope. Yeah. So similarly, there will be some handshaking mechanism to establish the communication or connection between the broker and the client in both the sides, and the sender and the receiver sides. And in advance to TCP/IP, here we have some quality of services. quality of service 0, 1, and 2. 0 means if sender sends some data, it will ignore. It won't wait for some acknowledgement. And if quality of service is 1, sender will send data and it will expect for an acknowledgement at least one time. If that acknowledgement is not received, then it will imagine that data is not sent properly to the respected destination, and it will continuously transmit the data again and again. So because of this, retransmission will happen, and some power consumption and junk or dump, or I would say duplicate data will be stored somewhere. Yeah, quality of service 2 is most complex one, which requires more efficient algorithms. If quality of service 2, then it is at most acknowledgement, or it is damn sure that the data is received properly at the receiver end, and the communication will close once the data transmission is completed. Yeah, until now, whatever we were I was explaining, the most of the applications will be developed in the customer side or based on the customer requirements. The basic stack will be already available, like until from physical layer to transport layer, it is a standardized one. The only customized part in most of the communications will be the session, presentation, and application layer, and the data will be handled as per explicit requirements from each customers. Yeah, that's it from my side. Any questions? Hello?
Yes.
Thank you, Hari.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harishankar.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much,
Students, yeah. Students, if you have any queries, please.
Sorry, I have exceeded 2 minutes.
Harishankar?
Yes. Hello? Hello? Could not hear. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, Harishankar. Amali ma'am wants to talk to you.
Yes, ma'am. Amali ma'am.
How are you?
Yes, Harishankar.
You presented well from basics to high-end applications. Very happy to see you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Participants, you can unmute yourself and ask question to Mr. Harishankar. Or else you can post your query in the chat box also. Students, participants of the event, kindly post your queries in the message box. Or else you can unmute and ask the question to Harishankar. Feedback link is posted in the chat box. Kindly fill the feedback form.
Harishankar,
Yeah, hello.
Thanks for your very nice presentation. It was very nice. And I have basically a doubt. Or this
Yeah, ma'am.
analytics, whatever we are doing is in the edge devices or in the devices which are connected in the cloud?
Okay. Analytics can be of two types. Edge analytics or the end analytics. So the previous method was taking data to a server, and the analytics part will be taken care in the server side or the local instance of the servers. But currently, due to some delays and performance issues, current trend is moving the analytics part to the end devices itself, edge devices itself. Analytics to some small extent, not a big complex analytics, which could take some more time. So the edge analytics is one trending topics in IoT. Before going to edge analytics, we should validate our controllers performance. Yeah, that's it.
Controllers performance in terms of its latency and data rate, or whatever we are keeping for our applications. Am I right?
Yes, correct.
Yes.
And how fast our executions will be like, and also our controller should adapt our support for all the libraries available in the open source. Not most of the complex mathematical, like some integration differential type of calculations will be a bit difficult to implement in controllers level. So that requires the end analytics part, not the edge analytics. So some basic analytics like sample calculations, sample derivations, and results out of this sample calculations can be done in edge analytics. Yeah.
Thank you, Harishankar.
Thank you. Welcome, ma'am.
Participants, if you have any queries, please raise, or you just post it, so we will share to the chief guest, right?
Hi Shankar, I have a doubt.
Yeah.
When you are explaining about the data integration, you said like data transmit and receive can be implemented via your Wi-Fi or by means of an Ethernet cable. Is that the data rate will be compatible if you switch over from your guided and an unguided medium?
Yeah. Coming to data rate, we should first do some groundwork. Like both the interfaces should have the same kind of baud rate or frequency range in operating devices. Like both the ends should have the same interfaces available.
Okay.
Then only we should opt for such type of communication. So in any communication, always it is better practice to ensure that both the ends will have the same interfaces. If one end is having a UART, then the other should also expected to have a UART device. Here we can avoid our the data rate can be controlled.
Thank you, Hari.
Welcome.
Harishankar, very nice presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, you have prepared your presentation also very well.
Thank you. I have prepared
Subhashini ma'am,
something
if
else,
there are
but
no more questions, you can wind up.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I would
Participants,
like,
if you have, yeah.
I would like to thank all the staff members and students to providing me such an opportunity. It
So
was nice.
I extend my special thanks to Harishankar for accepting this webinar. Right from the beginning, when I gave the proposal for this topic itself, I asked him whether you can present a session on IIoT. From that time onwards till today, he is ready to do for us. So thank you, Hari, for the consistency in helping towards in completion of this webinar successfully. Thanks once again.
Welcome, ma'am, and thanks for organizing this.
Welcome. Sendil sir, I
Yes,
Thank you,
yes, ma'am.
coordinators.
Thank
Yes,
you, ma'am.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. So we will move to the
Thank
vote
you,
of
ma'am.
thanks, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes,
Sure.
sir. Sure.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. So now we have reached to the end of the webinar. It gives me immense pleasure to propose a vote of thanks for today's webinar. On behalf of EC Department and the Institution Innovation Council Cell, I extend my heartiest thanks to our chief guest, Mr. B. Hari Shankar, Senior Software Engineer, Robert Bosch Engineering and Business Solutions, to take out time from his busy schedule to grace the event. Thank you, Hari, for your inspiring and trending speech about industry IoT. A special
welcome,
thanks
sir.
to our management, principal and vice principal for providing continuous support and guidance. I extend my gratitude to Dr. Komla James, head of the EC department, for her immense support to make the webinar successful one. Thank you, ma'am. And also I extend my special thanks to Dr. N. Subhashini ma'am and Sudhir sir for organizing the event. And also I extend my sincere thanks to intra and inter-department faculty members who have joined in the webinar. And also our heartfelt thanks to our students for active participations. We hope you people are had nice evening with learning. So thank you all. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Krishnan sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir,
Thank
for
you.
joining
Thank
with
you.
us.
Thank you all.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Tirupati sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senil sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Harishankar.
Udit sir, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hari Shankar, are you there?
Harishankar.
He has left. It.
He left.
Yes, sir.
ஓடிட்டான்னு நினைக்கிறேன். எர்னஸ்ட் இளவரசன் இருக்கீங்களா? எர்னஸ்ட்.
Yes. Yes. Some of our alumni is joined.
எர்னஸ்ட் இளவரசன் இருந்தா.
Hari.
ஹரி இருந்தா.
இளவரசன். Hari.
ஏர்னஸ்ட் இருக்காப்லையா? ஏர்னஸ்ட்?
ஹரிசங்கர் போயிட்டானா? இவங்களும் கிளம்பிட்டான்னு நினைக்கிறேன் அப்போ.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
sir. So, everyone is left.
Okay, sir. So we shall.
Yes, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
We will wind up the meeting, ma'am.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Subhash ma'am, thank you. Sendil sir, thank you.
Hari Shankar திரும்பி join பண்ணிருக்கான்னு நினைக்கிறேன், sir.
Thank you, Mari sir.
Sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Sir. I think Hari Shankar திரும்ப join பண்ணிருக்காரு.
சொல்லுங்க சார். ஜாயின் பண்ணிட்டேன்.
உள்ளதா கூட கூப்பிட்டு இருந்தாங்க சரவணகுமார் சார்.
Yeah.
சரவணகுமார் சார் எப்படி இருக்கீங்க? உங்களை நான் பார்க்கவே இல்லை. இங்க ஸ்கிரீன்ல தெரியவே இல்லை நீங்க. சரவணகுமார் சார் இருக்காங்க?
Yeah, actually, sir, Saranagam sir just left. I think so.
Sorry, Leo.
ஓகே, நான் பேசிக்கிறேன் சரவணகுமார் சார்.
Okay. Thank you, Hari.
Thank you so much, Hari.
Yeah, thank you for accepting our invitations, right? Thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome, sir.
I'm Subhashini, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sudhir, sir.
Thank you, coordinators.
Thank you, sir.